Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for this KREM 2 News special report. I'm Mark Hanrahan. What started as a call for a grass fire on Canfield Mountain near Coeur d'Alene yesterday turned deadly as firefighters were met with gunfire on the mountain. The Kootenai County Sheriff calling what happened to firefighters a total ambush, adding they had no chance when they arrived on scene to fight the fire. We have learned a lot of new information today after a 2 p.m. news conference from Kootenai County Sheriff Bob Norris, including about the suspect. That person's been identified as 20-year-old Wes Rowley. It's believed he shot and killed himself after opening fire on firefighters. Right now, we are just minutes away from another news conference where we expect to learn the identities of the firefighters killed and hurt in the ambush. We understand that it is one Coeur d'Alene firefighter who was shot and killed, one Kootenai County Fire and Rescue firefighter who was also shot and killed, and one Coeur d'Alene firefighter, a third person, was shot, wounded, taken to surgery. We're awaiting an update on that person's identity. So when that press conference gets underway at 4 o'clock today, here's a live shot of the podium where it will take place. We will take you live to that press conference. Again, that's scheduled for 4 o'clock today, where we're hoping to learn more or expecting to learn more about the victims in this tragedy yesterday. We mentioned we also learned a lot of information about the shooting today from Kootenai County Sheriff Bob Norris. He held a press conference at 2 o'clock this afternoon where he gave us a lot of new information, including about the suspect. So let's take a listen into a portion of that press conference for the latest details.
So the suspect that has been identified by our Kootenai County Coroner's Office, Coroner Duke Johnson there, has been identified as Wes Val Rowley, date of birth of May 1st, 2005. As of right now, and this is all very, very preliminary, we've had a lot of resources at the crime scene. We've been working through the night, so many of these facts are subject to change. We believe that Rowley has prior residence in California, Arizona, and Idaho. We believe he was born in California. The Kootenai County Sheriff's Office and Coeur d'Alene Police Department, we've had 5 interactions with Rowley, and of those 5 interactions, we've had 3. Coeur d'Alene Police had 2. They're very, very minor in nature. They had to do with more trespassing. He was trespassing at a location. He was asked to leave, and he cooperated. We had some welfare checks on Rowley, and very, very minor. We don't show any criminal history for Rowley. We do have some social media presence for for Rowley. Find it disgusting to call him a Mr., but we don't have any much to go on. Here's some of his social media postings that were recently removed from social media. I believe this one was Instagram, and we have some copies of this that Lieutenant Mark Ellis will distribute. Where we're at with the crime scene. The crime scene is active. We still have the suspect's vehicle that is up down an embankment of the mountain. Deputies who responded on scene to protect life and engage the suspect thought it would be in their best interest to get rid of what they thought was Rowley's vehicle. So they had the frame of mind to push it over the side so he couldn't come around and get in that vehicle and flee. So we have not been able to find any manifesto. We have not been able to inventory the vehicle, although people that have seen the vehicle do believe it appeared as if he was living in the vehicle. There was a lot of debris that's in the vehicle, so that's all we have on that. Like I said again, we have not verified or found any manifesto. We have not done an inventory of that vehicle. I'd like to give you an update on the fire that we believe Rowley started. Rowley was found to be in possession of a flint starter, and we believe that was his method for starting the fire. That eventually led to firefighters responding. So as of right now, the fire is at 26 acres. It has not grown. It is a slow progress because it's very difficult terrain to get assets, ground assets up there. They are putting, Idaho Department of Lands is putting a lot of water on it from aerial supports, so that's going rather well. They believe they'll have a fire line around it by dark tonight. There are no structures that are threatened.
That was a press conference with Kootenai County Sheriff Bob Norris. That press conference took place at 2 o'clock today. Some more information just to add here about what he said during that press conference. When asked about the weapon used, Sheriff Norris said it appears a shotgun was used. They also believe the suspect, Rowley, used that shotgun on himself in this case. In terms of kind of what happened, what unfolded between him and firefighters, Norris said that firefighters who arrived on scene, there was some sort of discussion between them and Rowley before this deadly shooting. That interaction between them appears to have had to do something with how Rowley may have been parked in that situation. So that was the latest from the Kootenai County Sheriff. Again, that press conference taking place at 2 o'clock. We are awaiting another press conference, this one at Kootenai County Fire and Rescue Headquarters. That's where our Shannon Mowdy is live tonight, awaiting that 4 p.m. presser. And Shannon, this is where we are expecting to learn more about the victims in this case, correct?
Yeah, that's right, Mark. So we are at the Kootenai County Fire and Rescue Headquarters in Post Falls, where in just about 5-10 minutes at 4 o'clock, we're expecting to hear from some local fire chiefs and learn the identities of those 2 firefighters who were killed and the one who was injured in that shooting yesterday. So I have seen the Coeur d'Alene Mayor Woody McEvers here. We have a bunch of different fire departments represented, a lot of media here to hear this update that we have been waiting on, those identities. And we're also expecting to hear how the public can help support first responders in this moment. Of course, donations have been pouring in. We've been checking in with people throughout the day. We stopped at some local fire departments and saw people walking in with bouquets of flowers. We talked to neighbors who say that they are just confused and shocked and don't understand what happened here and why. But we are expecting today to hear more about how people can donate and support. So I do want to tell you a little bit of what I know about the official way to donate. I spoke with Coeur d'Alene Fire Chief Christopher Way, who said that the only official fundraiser going on right now is through the Red and Blue Foundation that is here locally. They are partnering with Anchored Coffee. So all of those coffee stands across the area are collecting donations. They're accepting food and money. So the food donations, water donations, they are coordinating those with Red and Blue Foundation, taking those to fire crews and first responders, and then money that is going directly to the families of these firefighters who need so much support right now. And you can also make donations in person at First Interstate Bank, and just mention Canfield Incident. That's the best way to get your resources directly to those people who need it.
Shannon, before I let you go, I just have a quick question for you. You've been there in the Coeur d'Alene area throughout the day. What's kind of the mood or the feeling out there today after this just very chaotic and tragic scene yesterday?
I think just from the people that we've spoken to, people are, like I mentioned, just confused and shocked. We spoke with some people who live right next to one of the Coeur d'Alene fire departments, and they said, you know, you would never think something like this would happen to firefighters, because those are the men and women who are on the front lines just saving lives every day, and they get called out to help people, and that's all they do day in and day out. So people are just wondering why firefighters, and you know, a lot of people have been just confused by that. I guess it's just the sentiment there. It's just confusion, and then there is a little bit of fear. You know, We've heard from law enforcement officials and the sheriff that this is the only suspected shooter, and he has passed away. But people are still kind of leery and fearful, and I think that ties in with that confusion. And they're definitely thinking about first responders in this moment and how they can support and be there for that community. I spoke with that one man who lives right across the street from a fire station. He says he's friendly with all of those guys. They love his dog. Some of them have dogs. They bond over that. And he says he just can't imagine this happening to the men and women that he's just been so friendly with.
Yeah, certainly understandable. All right. Shannon Mowdy live tonight. Thank you, Shannon. We have just a couple minutes left in our live stream here, but I want to bring in our chief meteorologist, Jeremy the Goo, because there is this wildfire that continues to burn tonight. They believe was set by the gunman. And so now crews are able to start focusing on that now the scene is secure. Jeremy, what's the situation out there in terms of conditions?
Mark, it's a very interesting one, especially when it comes to the terrain itself. We're going over to Coeur d'Alene and just to the northeast of the town center. That's where you're going to find Canfield Butte, or Canfield Mountain as it's been referred to. The fire there is burning in exceptionally steep terrain. You have a mix of fuels. You have the fine fuels down low, but there is a lot of timber in the area as well. And with that fire climbing some of those trees and in that steep terrain, it becomes extremely difficult for crews to get in there and battle the blaze. One of the things of note here is that with that steep terrain, you don't get any of the heavy equipment that you might see in some of the fires that we get in parts of central Washington. So it's one of those ones where we just keep watching. As of the latest update on this, it is 29.9 acres, and there are still no evacuations and no structures threatened at this time. And it looks like fire conditions are going to stay relatively favorable for fighting that fire for the next couple of days, Mark.
All right, good information there, Jeremy. Thank you very much. To recap what we have learned so far today, authorities have identified the suspected gunman in this case as 20-year-old Wes Rowley. They say they believe he used a shotgun, and then they believe he used that same gun on himself after opening fire on the firefighters. We have learned that 2 firefighters have been killed. A third one was also shot and wounded, taken to surgery. We're awaiting an update on his condition at this hour. We are going to stay with this story. Our live stream will end here in a couple of seconds. Then we'll broadcast live starting at the top of the hour on KREM 2 News at 4. Hope to see you then.
This was a total ambush. These firefighters did not have a chance.
Chaos and confusion just outside of Coeur d'Alene.
There's an active shooter zone. They're shot.
Firefighters sent to contain a fire shot. 2 dead, another fighting for their life.
I'm pinned down behind Battalion 1's rig.
The fire a lure.
It's clear to me that this fire was set intentionally to draw us in.
As an ambush awaited. 24 hours later, the question turns to how and why. We have team coverage tonight as we learn more about the shooter and the fight to contain the wildfire still burning at this hour. KREM 2 News at 4 starts right now.
Yeah, no, we don't have any indication of any motive at this time.
New at 4, we are learning that the man who set a wildfire then ambushed responding fire crews is 20-year-old Wes Rowley. The Kootenai County Sheriff adding that he appears to have shot himself after that. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for KREM 2 News First at 4. I'm Mark Hanrahan. This all began at around 1:20 yesterday afternoon after a wildfire sparked on Canfield Mountain just northeast of Coeur d'Alene. As firefighters rushed to the area, they were met with gunfire. 2 were killed, another rushed to surgery, and at this hour we are still awaiting an update on their status. That fire still burning at this hour. As of right now, it's grown to about 29 acres. No evacuations are in place at this time, though. We have team coverage tonight as we learn more about the shooter and how the Coeur d'Alene community is mourning the loss of 2 of their own as a third fights for their life. We are also awaiting a press conference from the Kootenai County Fire and Rescue. We understand that is beginning now, so let's take a listen in.
Ask the mayor of Coeur d'Alene to say something, and then at the end we'll take questions collectively as a group and direct them to the most appropriate person. So, Chief Drive.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today. I know that you all have important jobs, and I want to thank you all for being patient over the last 24 hours. I'm Tom Greif. I have the honor of being the fire chief of the city of Coeur d'Alene, and I'm joined with my union president, Gabe Becker.
And I want to introduce to you Local 2856 Firefighters Union President Justin Zabel from Kootenai County Fire and Rescue. So obviously, as you know, tragedy unfolded in our community yesterday. An unimaginable and unthinkable tragedy took place, and I want you to understand today's focus is simply to talk and honor the lives of the firefighters and the injured that lost their lives, as well as the injured firefighter. We are not going to answer or entertain questions about the legal pieces of this or the criminal investigation. As you know, that's all part of the Sheriff's Department and their partner agencies. I think we want to start by thanking all of our partner agencies. Obviously, we work together with Coeur d'Alene Fire every day at Kootenai Fire, but we need to thank all of the fire and EMS agencies in the local and state and regional who have the outpouring of support that we are receiving right now is second to none. There has not been a need that has been unmet. We also want to thank our law enforcement partners. As you can imagine, this is a relatively dynamic situation, changing hourly, and we want to thank all of our law enforcement, again, local, state, federal partners that have helped throughout this crisis. I'm going to talk a little bit about our firefighter, but at first I want to insist that we ask the media to begin respecting the families. These families have an unimaginable loss that they are dealing with. The fire families have an unimaginable loss that they are dealing with. And at this point, we have had to post police guards at the houses of the firefighters because of citizens and media coming up and to their houses. That is simply unacceptable in this time of grief. So we're going to ask that you absolutely respect the families of our firefighters, respect our firefighters that are working and still protecting their community today. We thank you for sharing our message. We want you to be part of this, and we want to partner with you. But we absolutely have a mission, and our mission is to take care of the families of the fallen, the injured, and again, our firefighters that are still serving the community. With that, it saddens me to announce that Battalion Chief Frank Harwood, 42 years old, has been a member of our department for 17 years, passed away in the line of duty yesterday. Chief Harwood is married, has 2 children. He is also a former Army National Guard combat engineer, so he's a veteran as well. Chief Harwood was a leader in our organization. He did an amazing job. He was a shift commander. He was well respected by his shift. This loss is felt by so many, including all of the members of his shift that worked and saw the incident yesterday. So we're going to ask, and President Zabel is going to speak a little more directly about Chief Harwood, but we would ask that you would keep him in your thoughts and your prayers as we continue this important mission that we serve every day. That said, shortly after today's press conference, working with the International Association of Firefighters, we will have pictures of the fallen available in one graphic. It is important to note that we are operating as one incident. Although 2 departments, we are working hand in hand through this, and I could not appreciate that more. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Chief Greif.
All right, I'm going to echo some things that Chief Way said. But yesterday was one of the most absolute darkest days that either one of these organizations has ever faced. As the community has already seen, this unimaginable act of violence took place at a wildland fire incident on Canfield Mountain. At this time, we're not able to discuss certain details as this remains an active investigation. So we'll do our best for the questions and answers following this press conference. Out of respect for our fallen brothers and their families, again, I'm going to ask that we limit comments to confirm facts at this time. This afternoon, we're here to share the names of our brothers that lost their lives and the one that's been critically injured yesterday. From the Coeur d'Alene Fire Department, Battalion Chief John Morrison sustained fatal gunshot wounds yesterday and died in the line of duty. John Morrison began his career with the Coeur d'Alene Fire Department back in 1996. He's the battalion chief of Blue Shift, and he's held the ranks of firefighter, engineer, captain, battalion chief, and he's also a longtime paramedic for our department. He has served the city of Coeur d'Alene in this community for over 28 and a half years. Also injured in yesterday's incident was engineer Dave Tisdall, who sustained gunshot wounds as well, and he is currently in critical condition at Kootenai Health. Dave is surrounded by his family, and he's had 2 successful surgeries as of noon today. I do have a brief statement that Mrs. Tisdall wrote that I'd like to read. We thank everyone for their love and support. Dave is surrounded by his family, and he is able to open his eyes, and the 2 surgeries have gone well. Like I said, he is in ICU at Kootenai Health, and our focus and support is going to be with the Tisdall family at this point. As Chief Way stated, we would ask that the media please respect the privacy of the families and direct your inquiries through the fire departments if possible. Our focus today and in the coming days will be providing support to the Tisdall family as well as both families that lost loved ones yesterday. At the same time, both of our departments are going to be focusing and providing mental health resources for our personnel and families that are going to be greatly impacted by this tragic event for months and years to come. As Chris Way said, we're grateful to law enforcement partners for their swift response and their continued efforts for their investigation. We would like to thank the numerous regional agencies that have provided resources and support over the past 24 hours. The community support has been nothing short of amazing, and all agencies involved will be needing every bit of that moving forward as we have a long road ahead of us. With that, I would like to turn the podium over to Union President Gabe Eckert with Local 710.
Yesterday was a terrible day. We as firefighters lost 2 brothers and saw 1 hospitalized with serious injuries. This community lost 2 dedicated public servants. The outpouring of support from this community has been incredible, and the amount of food, cards, offers for help, everything is truly appreciated. For those who want to donate, you can donate with either the Red and Blue Foundation, the Jeff Welch Memorial Foundation, and there are also accounts set up for all 3 families and then the 3 families individually that can be accessed through any First Interstate Bank. These will all be linked to on our social medias in the following hours. In the meantime, we'd ask that you allow the families the peace that they deserve so that they can mourn their losses. These men were dedicated firefighters. They were dedicated to their community. Speaking to Tisdall, speaking to Morrison, these guys were hard workers. They loved their families. I just want to share a little story. 2 weeks ago, my last memory with John, I had the opportunity to work with him as he worked back on my shift as a battalion chief. We had kind of a rare moment. We went out onto the back patio and we smoked cigars and we talked with each other. We talked about being better fathers. We talked about being better leaders. We talked about being better firefighters. And I just want to say I am so incredibly grateful that that gets to be my last memory with him. So if there's anything you guys take away from this, I want you to know these were dedicated men, and they were dedicated to this community. Thank you very much.
I'm Justin Zabel, President, Local 2856, Kootenai County Firefighters. This tragedy does not define our community. What's often overlooked in times like these is the overwhelming love and support we receive from the people we serve. It's that love for this community that inspired Brother Morrison and Brother Harwood to answer the call in service to their families, their union brothers and sisters, in the place they called home. They made the ultimate sacrifice in that service. The men and women of Local 710 and Local 2856 will continue to answer that call because it's who we are. And it's how we honor the memory of our brothers who gave their lives doing the job they loved in service to others. Thank you.
As they both mentioned, there are donation opportunities that you can find on all of our social media pages. I want to remind people that this is, again, an incredibly fluid situation, changing on a minute's notice. The one thing I can announce is that we are doing a procession returning back to the city. As you know, we did a procession to the medical examiner's office yesterday. I just got told that we are leaving the medical examiner's office in Spokane at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, and we will be returning to English Funeral Chapel on 4th Street in Coeur d'Alene. We certainly invite the public to honor our firefighters and our heroes by standing on the bridges and the overpass and lining the roads. We would absolutely appreciate the support. Please again know that our firefighters and our staff and our chiefs and our commissioners and our elected officials truly appreciate and feel the love that our community is sending to us right now. With that, I'm going to ask Mayor Woody McEvers to come up and say a few words.
On behalf of myself, the City Council, the employees of the City of Coeur d'Alene, and all the members of our community, I want to begin by offering my deepest sympathy to the families of those tragically killed and injured yesterday in the line of duty. What they are going through is incredibly hard and heart-wrenching. And I want them to know that we're thinking of them. I also pledge that we'll stand with them in the coming days and weeks and months to offer all the respect and support and comfort and the love that they need. I want to thank all law enforcement, fire, and emergency personnel from many, many agencies throughout the region and the federal government who work so hard and heroically to deal with an event that was so unprecedented in our community. We still are in shock and are struggling to understand why someone would target unarmed, selfless public servants. Law enforcement is continuing to investigate what happened and why. But for now, let's focus on remembering those we lost and the families left behind. Firefighters have a special place in my heart. They do what they do out of love for the job and their community. It's a difficult and dangerous job, but the danger is encountered every day is not something they would ever thought they would have to face. Face it, they did, with courage and honor. I'm proud of them. I honor them. In closing, I'm so grateful to see how everyone has rallied around the families and colleagues of these firefighters. We live in a very special community of very special people. I know we'll never forget January 29th and the ultimate sacrifice made by our dear husbands, friends, and fathers. They will always shine brightly in our memory. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. At this time, we're going to open this up to some questions. We do have a couple of statements before we get started with the questions. So we can confirm. We just know that these are going to be two things that are absolutely things that we want to confirm or dispel. There was pre-incident contact with the suspect by our firefighters upon their arrival, but it was minimal contact, and there was certainly no criminal or suspected activity as a result of that. The other piece I want to dispel is that the families were notified via social media. That is absolutely false. Both families of the fallen firefighters as well as the injured firefighter were notified by department personnel and have indeed been have had a 24-hour watch with fire department personnel with the families ever since the incident took place. So having those questions come up earlier, we figured we would just take care of that now. So happy to answer a question.
Chief, you just sort of answered part of my question. I'm wondering if you have any more details about that minimal preliminary contact, and then if not, the sheriff has indicated that the gunman at least expressed interest in the past of maybe being a firefighter at one point. So I'm wondering if he ever came across either of your departments, introduced himself.
I think the pre-incident contact is still being investigated. That was something new to us today. Again, we're not going to get into what the sheriff or the state police are investigating from a criminal aspect. And I can tell you from the Kootenai County Fire and Rescue standpoint, we had never had contact with the suspect. He had never applied for a position here or tested for a position here.
We are looking into some facts surrounding that question, but I cannot verify any of it at this point.
Next question. Yes, ma'am. That's a great question. So tonight, we've tapped into the resources of both the International Association of Firefighters, the International Association of Fire Chiefs, and the International Fallen Firefighters Foundation. They're bringing in what they call their funeral response teams. We actually are meeting with them at 9:30 tonight when they're wheels down, and we will begin the planning process. But that involves the families, that involves all of the brothers and sisters. So obviously, as soon as we have a plan, that plan will be disseminated. We will have plenty of time. But obviously, that takes significant planning, and that will begin tonight, like I said, about 9:30. Other questions?
Can we give spellings, please, of firefighters? And also, we heard County Chief Harwood be that we did not get a date for Chief Morrison.
I can give you Frank, F-R-A-N-K, Harwood, H-A-R-W-O-O-D, again, rank of battalion chief, and he was 42 years old.
John Morrison, M-O-R-R-I-S-O-N, 52 years old. He's been with us for 28 and a half years. Dave Tisdall, T-Y-S-D-A-L. He is 47 years of age, and he has been with us for 23 years at the rank of engineer.
Again, later this evening, there will be graphics that are being produced right now with both of their pictures. You'll be able to find it on, I believe, both Coeur d'Alene Fire and Kootenai Fire's social media pages, as well as Local 710 and Local 2856's pages. Yes, sir. All of the initial response was both a mix of the city and county fire in responding in a wildland urban interface setting.
Any update on wildfire
Yes, actually, we just got an update about 30 or 45 minutes ago. The fire is reasonably contained. They've stopped significant forward progress, but they're still working on it, and that all belongs under the jurisdiction of the Idaho Department of Lands. And we want to also thank our partners, Northern Lakes Fire Protection District. they were instrumental in both the firefight as well as the removal of patients and transporting patients yesterday under obviously extreme and duress conditions. Other questions? Yes, sir. I think at this point, I think we're going to obviously do a deep dive into what happened. The incident is still unfolding. We're finding things out hour by hour at this point. There will be a time for us to reflect on the incident. There will be a time for us to be able to evaluate our policies and our procedures and whether or not, should we have had more people on the initial attack it's really impossible to say at this time. What I can commit to you is obviously we will do a deep dive, and I think we will do that together. We're partner agencies. We respond together every day. On this unfortunately was another routine call until it wasn't. And so our focus right now is obviously the families of the fallen and the injured. Our fire department families in making sure we heal through this, and then we can begin the dissection of what happened. And some of that is going to be with our law enforcement partners once they get a much better picture of truly what unfolded and why it unfolded.
On the human side, it's natural. I think immediately after this happened, everybody's going to have a heightened self-awareness level now rolling out the door. There's nothing we're going to do about that. That's just a natural response to this. This wasn't a event that we trained for. We train every day for high risk, low frequency events that are dangerous in our profession, but we never imagined that we would be ambushed responding to a wildland incident at a command post. And so, now that heightened awareness is just a natural response to this every time we go out the door.
I again would use that as an opportunity to thank our law enforcement partners, and I would just advise our community, you may see this over the next few days, our law enforcement partners have stepped up and guaranteed a response to every call we go on, whether it would be a typical call that law enforcement went on. I think that gives our brothers and sisters in law enforcement an ease that they're there on the front side. It certainly gives our firefighters an ease as we're responding, and we were glad that was an offer they made to us, both, Coeur d'Alene City Police Department, Kootenai County Sheriff's Department, Post Falls Police Department, and ISP have all stepped up and said, we will absolutely go to every call you go on. So that, again, as Chief Drive said, that certain peace of mind, I don't know that we're ever going to be able to guarantee people's peace of mind, at least for a while after an incident like this, but we are taking every measure we can to ensure safety of our responders. Other questions? Yes, sir.
The Chief, the Sheriff, and the press conference in the back of the main building evidence of the fire scene. Does that affect how you're fighting fire?
We're working in coordination. I know, so I want to be clear again. We handed the fire off to IDL yesterday when they arrived, and obviously the other incident unfolded. So neither of our agencies is involved at this point. I know that the State Fire Marshal's office is working with the detectives to work through the scene and process, be able to put the fire out as well as process evidence as they come across. Yeah, there have been a couple of cases of this, but certainly it's, as Chief Drive said, it's low frequency, high acuity. It's, and again, I want to be clear, we've been asked this a lot today, is, well, do you train for active shooters? And we absolutely do. We have equipment, but this wasn't an active shooter call. The initial response was to a wildland urban interface brush fire on the side of a mountain. And so, again, we went in, we saw smoke showing, we went in like we do all the time and attacked the fire, and then unfortunately we got attacked. And as the sheriff said very well last night, the way they were attacked and ambushed, they never had a chance. Other questions? If not, we certainly appreciate everybody being here today. We appreciate, again, we want to thank our community for their amazing level of support. We want to thank our elected officials, so many of whom are here today supporting us in this piece.
We are just listening to a press conference from fire officials over in Coeur d'Alene, both from Kootenai County Fire and Rescue and the Coeur d'Alene Fire Department, giving an update on the firefighters who were shot and killed and the other who was injured yesterday during that attack by Canfield Mountain. The fallen firefighters have been identified as Battalion Chief Frank Harwood from the Kootenai County Fire and Rescue, 42 years old. The other deceased firefighter was identified as 52-year-old Battalion Chief John Morrison from the Coeur d'Alene Fire Department. That third firefighter who was also shot and is injured, that person's been identified as 47-year-old engineer Dave Tisdall. They said he is in critical condition at Kootenai Health. They said he has had two successful surgeries, and they are hopeful for his recovery tonight. One other interesting aspect at the end of that press conference, they said, for the time being, local law enforcement in the Coeur d'Alene area has stepped up and agreed to respond to fire calls alongside firefighters to help put them at ease in light of the violence that just unfolded right there. All right, we continue our coverage tonight with our Cody Crawford. She is also standing by live in Coeur d'Alene tonight. Cody, Sheriff Bob Norris held a press conference just about 2.5 hours ago. We learned a lot more about the case and the suspect. What can you tell us?
Well, Mark, as you just mentioned, we have learned more details about what happened yesterday and more about that suspect. Now, that, as you mentioned, we just got that information just hours ago. Now, according to Kootenai County Sheriff Bob Norris, the suspect and the shooter has been confirmed as 20-year-old Wes Raleigh. He's previously lived in California, Arizona, and in Idaho. Now, the sheriff says law enforcement has had 5 previous interactions with Raleigh, but mostly minor, mostly trespassing and welfare checks. Nothing serious. However, the sheriff says it did not appear, or it's not known if he had any interactions with firefighters before yesterday when this all began. And Sheriff Norris actually says that Raleigh spoke with firefighters as they arrived on scene yesterday to respond to that initial call for that wildfire. He says they actually talked with him about where his vehicle was parked at not long after shots were fired. As for the motivation behind it, this ambush, authorities are still trying to figure out what even led up to it, what's the cause behind it. However, they did say there has actually been some indications that Raleigh wanted to be a firefighter at one point.
We have information that he at one time wanted to be a firefighter. So we don't know if there's a nexus to that desire and what happened.
Now, as for his connection to Coeur d'Alene, Sheriff Norris says they don't know why he chose North Idaho. He did say he was a transient here in the area and actually lived in the area for the better part of last year. He also said Raleigh has family in the Priest River area. Now, as for that fire, again, we just received some latest updates about that, but at last check, it's about 26 acres and reasonably contained at this time. It is believed Raleigh started that fire with a flint starter. Now, as Mark, you have mentioned, as we have been reporting, this is very much a developing story, one that we're continuing to learn more information hour by hour since this all started more than 24 hours ago up at Canfield Mountain. So again, be sure to stay with us both on air and online as we continue to work to bring you the very latest information on this incident. Reporting live in Coeur d'Alene, Cody Proctor, KREM 2 News.
Cody, thank you very much. We are also hearing tonight from Wes Rowley's former roommate. Rowley, again, is the suspect, who says he once called police on Rowley out of concern that he may become violent. Jim Nelson is live in Sandpoint. Jim, how recently did Rowley live there?
I woke up to a phone call this morning from my brother, and he was like, dude, you're not going to believe this. I said, what? And he said, your roommate's name was Wes Raleigh, right? And I said, yeah. And he sent me the picture of him, and I read the news, and I just, honestly, I was just freaking out really bad. Where it gets fuzzy for me because I'm kind of hearing all kinds of stuff now.
Obviously, a little bit of an audio issue there, but to answer your question, the ex-roommate said that Rowley moved out in January. He said that decision was made after they noticed Rowley was making threatening gestures on their security camera. TJ Franks, the ex-roommate, said he got to know the suspected shooter through their work in the tree service industry. He told me Rowley was living out of his van before moving in. He guessed he stayed here just about 6 months. Now, Franks said they did not discuss anything that would suggest any sort of motive in the shooting, but he did notice a change in his demeanor toward the end of his stay. Frank said he has not seen any police activity here at this apartment complex throughout the day. However, he said he certainly expects to get a knock at his door at some point. Live in Sandpoint, Jim Nelson, KREM 2 News.
All right, Jim, thank you very much. We are also continuing to track the wildfire that was set by Rowley, bringing in Chief Meteorologist Jeremy Legoo right now. Jeremy, the wildfire happening not at a great time. Of course, we are under a weather impact alert for the heat that we are now under here in the area.
Yeah, Mark, that fire burning out near Coeur d'Alene, the Nettleton Gulch fire, is still burning. And as you heard, it has grown a little bit. It's about at 29 acres right now, and it is burning in extremely steep, wooded terrain. There are always three major elements of a wildfire when it comes to weather: heat, humidity or lack thereof, and wind. Thankfully, we don't have much wind. Wind remains light and variable and will over the course of the next couple of days. But with this extreme heat and these very dry conditions, that gives the fire the ability to just burn very intensely, and that's exactly what we're seeing. As of right now, no structure is threatened, and they do have a nice wall on the western edge. Western edge would put a wall between the fire itself and some of those communities that sit there in Coeur d'Alene or Hayden. So that is good news. But as Mark mentioned, it is hot. Temperatures up near 90 degrees. I believe we've already hit 90 today. Calm wind is a saving grace, but relative humidity down in the teens is always something we look at. When it comes to relative humidity in the teens, embers stay lit a lot longer if you get those out of the fire, and then everything else just starts drying out. We remain in this weather impact alert through the day on Wednesday. That is for not just the heat, temperatures at 93 to 104 degrees, basically from the Cascades through North Idaho down into Oregon, but also eventually wind picking up on the backside of this. That wind starts Wednesday and then eventually dies down. Tomorrow, we'll top out around 96 degrees. It does wind up being the hottest day of this next few. Wednesday, it looks like there's a chance of a couple of isolated thunderstorms. Where those will be, we don't know exactly yet. But as they move in, it will be something we track because there will be gusty outflow from those and the potential for lightning-started wildfires. We will also see wind before temperatures cool later this week. Mark?
All right, sounds good, Jeremy. Thank you very much. Now to some more breaking news in the Moscow murder trial. Multiple sources close to the case have confirmed there is a plea hearing for Brian Kohberger on Wednesday. He is a man accused of stabbing and killing 4 University of Idaho students in November of 2022. We are being told that Kohberger has been offered a plea deal in exchange for taking the death penalty off the table. If he takes that guilty plea to all charges, he'll be given 4 consecutive life sentences. Brian Kohberger's trial for the quadruple murders was set to begin in August. In Wednesday's hearing, Kohberger will share if he has decided to accept all 4 plea deals. We'll certainly keep you posted on what happens. As the procession for the firefighters killed moved to Spokane, a Coeur d'Alene man's powerful symbol was part of the somber move. Coming up in 3 minutes, how he brought some comfort to a community in grief.